why we need WebSockets instead of using simple HTTP requests. So in this case, we have a chat application here where you can send message to a particular user from a particular user, and also you can send message to groups like WhatsApp or Telegram. Why here it's important to use WebSockets, or why it's convenient using WebSockets instead of simple HTTP request? To explain that, I have this diagram where I will try to show you why WebSockets in this particular situation it's better. So imagine the situation where we don't have WebSockets, we only have HTTP request. So in the HTTP request, the client requests to the server some data. Can be data to insert, like a post request, or data that the client wants using a GET request, for example. But always the client have to tell to the server, hey, I want that, I want to do that. The server never can send anything to the client if the client doesn't request first. That's important. That's the main reason of why we are using here WebSockets. So here are WebSockets. The WebSockets allows to the server to send data to the client without any request of the client. In this case, for the chat application, the client can receive message, but the client doesn't have when they have to receive those messages. So the client will have to be requesting every time in a pooling every time if there are some messages for them, and that will be inefficient. So in this case, with WebSockets, we are doing this. The client requests to the server to open a WebSocket through an HTTP request through an endpoint dedicated to open this WebSocket. The server, well, if they have all the conditions, well, the server will say, okay, I will open a WebSocket with you. Perfect. And then the server can send to the client any messages without the previous request of the client. So for the chat application, imagine this situation where the client A wants to send a message to the client B. The client A sends through WebSockets the message, and the server receives that message. The server have to think, well, I have to send this message to other client that is connecting to me via another WebSocket. So I will have to iterate as a server for each client that is connected to me and verify if the client is the same. And well, if it's the same, I will send the message. And in this case, the client B will receive the message because the server will send the message through the WebSocket, and the client will be notified by an event and can display this message automatically in real time in their screen. If we use for this case HTTP request, we as a client, we have to be requesting every time for new messages when maybe we'll never get any message, and in the most of the time we will be getting the same data every time, and it's totally inefficient. So in this case, real-time applications, we need WebSockets because we are delivering to the server the rights to send us data when the server wants, and we as a client, we will receive that information and we'll display to in the screen. It's just that. This is the importance of using WebSockets, and it's why we need to use it when we require it, because not every time we need WebSockets. We need WebSockets in some applications that handles real-time data, but for other applications, maybe we don't need WebSockets because it's just simple posts and GET request, and it's that. But for this kind of applications, we need WebSockets.